Hello, everybody. My name is Nebojša Janićijević. I'm a professor at Faculty of Economics. The aim of this paper is to explore impact of information communication technology on organizational models of contemporary companies. ICT has a comprehensive impact on almost all components of society and on organizations in it. The direction of the impact of ICT on organizations has not been quite reliably determined. This impact is multidimensional, and as such has been a topic in numerous researches from very different perspectives. ICT has solved the key organizational problem in previous era, gathering, processing, keeping, and exchange of data and information. By solving this problem, ICT has paradoxically decreased the importance of information per se and increased the importance of knowledge. Knowledge is not the same as information. Knowledge represents information that suits specific or organizational context, which the organization is able to process, understand their meaning, and productively apply them in the process of decision making. The key direction of the impact of ICT on modern organization is increasing importance of organizational knowledge and organizational learning as a process of knowledge creation. Since technology has enabled a relatively quick, easy, and cheap gathering and processing of all necessary information, the ability of organization to use the information and create knowledge based on them has become prominent. So the two key dimensions of ICT impact on organizations are, first of all, increased importance of knowledge and its carriers, actually people and their relations. And the second is the increased autonomy of employees and their participations in decision making, which actually leads us to leveling power of structure in organizations. Before we say something about impact of ICT on organization, we had to know something about the nature of organization. Any organization is dichotomous in its nature, which means that organization consists of two main components: working or formal or task structure, and of people or social structure of or subcomponents. These two components are in harmony and they have to be internally consistent. Are here on this picture. So we can see that hard components of organization which are in our focus are organizational structure and organizational control, and soft components are organizational culture and organizational leadership. So we will understand the impact of ICT on modern organization following the impact of this technology on these four organizational components. First of all, we will talk about the impact of ICT on organizational culture of contemporary organizations. Organizational culture here is understood as a system of assumptions, values, norms, attitudes manifested through symbols that the members of organization develop and adapt through mutual experience and which help them determine meaning of the world around them and how to behave in it. Uh, Literature includes many classifications of organizational cultural configurations. So we could find in literature many different classifications of organizational culture types. Here we will use Handy's classification, which actually uses two criteria to differentiate the types of organizational culture. Norms of a hierarchical distribution of power versus egalitarian distribution of power, and norms of orientation toward structure versus orientation toward people. Speaking about two dimensions of impact of ICT on cultural values and norms, we can say that ICT leads to more equal distribution of power in the organization and strengthening of employees and then increase the participation in decision making. So uh, ICT imposes values and norms of equal distribution of power in organization, and ICT favorizes cultures with norms of equal distribution of power in organization. Likewise, ICT leads to increasing the importance of people and their knowledge in the organization, and hence they favors the cultures which contain values and norms of people orientation and social component of organization. This is precisely the reason why ICT in modern organization favors the people culture, which combines egalitarian distribution of power as well as people orientation or a social structure. Um, uh, when we speak about organizational structure, we can say that organizational structure is formally sanctioned model of a relationship between individuals and groups in organization. Here we will start from Henning-Mintzberg classification of configurations or models of organizational structure, which actually dominates in the literature of organizational structuring. This classification of organizational structure is based on two criteria: degree of centralization of authority and degree of formalization. Since implementation of ICT in organizations leads to a leveling power of power within them, hence it will favor application of structural models that contains a high degree of decentralization in decision making. On the other hand, ICT implies increasing of importance of people and their relations within organization, which is consistent with a less formalized structures. Therefore, ICT implementation in modern organization will favor structural model which combine a low degree of centralization or high degree of decentralization and a low degree of formalization. And this is actually a model of adhocracy according to Henning. You can see here adhocracy model as one of four basic models of organizational structures, which combines low formalization and low centralization. Uh, Many leadership studies have shown that leadership styles are most often differentiated according to two main criteria: authoritarianism of the leader, actually a degree to which followers participate in decision making, and the other criteria is people orientation versus task orientation in solving organizational problems. So leaders differ according to the degree to which they make decision autonomously and allow their followers or employees to participate in decision making. And also, leaders are differentiating according to whether they strive to achieve goals through formal components such as structure, roles, procedures, or through informal components such as interpersonal relationship influencing people. So, in organizations with intensive ICT application, the effective leadership style must be a participant one. The reason for this is that ICT implies empowerment of employees and their greater role in decision making. On the other hand, ICT implies a leadership style that must be directed towards employees as carriers of knowledge in the organization. Due to this, ICT implementations favors people-oriented participative leadership style in contemporary organizations. So as you can see here, in modern contemporary organizations due to the impact of ICT. People-oriented participative leadership style will be more effective because ICT asks for high participation of employees in decision making, but also ask for the greater role of people or social structure in organization. Organizational control is also one of the very important component of any organization. Any organization has to find a way how to control behavior of employees or members of organization. An organization is a system of collective action through which mutual goals are achieved. In order to achieve this, behavior of organizational members must be restricted, directed, and controlled. We also here start from a Mintzberg classification of methods of controlling behavior of members of organization, which is based actually on two basic criteria: degree of method restrictiveness, or a level of employees' autonomy, and degree of method formalization. So ICT implementation requires a higher level of autonomy of employees, which are more and more becoming knowledge workers. If we want employees to be knowledge workers, they have to have a high level of autonomy. Due to this, control must be conducted through non-restrictive mechanisms that enable a high level of discretion to employees. On the other hand, the impact of ICT on favoring people and their potentials leads to application of informal, personalized mechanisms of control and coordination within the organization. Together, this means that actually ICT implementation in an organization will favor a direct interpersonal communication through teams as the mechanism of control and coordination. And you can see here on this slide that direct interpersonal communication as one of four basic control mechanisms is a favorite one in modern organization due to the impact of ICT. At the beginning of this presentation, I said that ICT actually influences a whole organizational model, and ICT implementation in contemporary organization impact the entire organizational model as configuration of mutually consistent structure, culture, control, and leadership. ICT favors the implementation of organizational model which implies adhocracy structure, people culture, participative and people-oriented leadership style, and control through direct interpersonal communication. This model we call innovative model because it is common for all described organizational components to incite flexibility, innovativeness, and changes. Here in this table, you can see four basic organizational models and characteristics of innovative model as a favorite one implied by ICT. Thank you very much for your attention.